Good morning and welcome to the Saturday, November 15th TV Toastmasters program. I'm Steve Ahrenholz, the president of TV Toastmasters. We meet on Saturdays at 9 a.m. at the Anderson Community Television Studio, 7850 5 Mile Road. I'm glad you're looking in with us today. We have a great meeting in store. We have 2 prepared speeches. We will have table topics and we will have feedback on our speeches. I'd like you to help me introduce our Toastmaster for today, who will be overseeing our program. This program will be broadcast in December, which is why I actually have my holiday hat on and my holiday tie. You can't really see my red suede shoes that I have on, but I do have some. Maybe I'll see if I can figure out how to get them on camera before the program ends today. What I'd like to do at this point is bring up our word of the day, if she's ready. We had a last-minute look for what is the word of today in our meeting, and I think it's going to have something to do with the holiday season that's coming up. So, help me welcome Patty Raggets to give us the word of the day. Patty?
Giving is the word of the day. It means to transfer something without the expectation of receiving something in return.
So giving is the word.
Giving.
Okay. Thank you, Patty. And our grammarian and word person for our today's meeting will be counting who all uses the word of the day in our meeting. I think one of the things that's neat about giving is when you can do it anonymously and yet you have a chance to kind of see the recipient's response, and it can sometimes be something very simple or something from the heart. I think those are some of the best gifts. Our Table Topics master, and I'll be introducing her in a moment. Table Topics is that portion of our meeting where we work on our impromptu speaking skills. This is where the Table Topics master will have questions or some topic that she will present, and she will call on one of our studio audience participants here to provide us with a short speech on that topic. We don't know what the topics are going to be, and the individual that is chosen to respond can choose how they want to prepare their response. They will have the amount of time it takes them to get from their seat to up here behind the lectern to prepare their response. Help me welcome our Table Topics master for today, BJ Harris. BJ?
Good morning, viewers, Toastmasters, and honored guest. I am so pleased to be the Table Topics Master for this week, this month. I have been a Toastmaster less than a year, and I have never been Table Topics Master. So today we're going to talk about giving. Coincidentally, that I would like to call on people who can tell us, for our first question, how they would feel about getting this as a gift. And I know in my family it is a very common gift. We give it for housewarmings, we give it in all manners of birthday, holidays, no matter what type of event. This is a common gift in our family. So I'd like you to talk about how you would feel about getting this gift, and you don't have to tell us what it is or how you use it. Just tell us how you would feel about getting this as a gift, because I know in my family it's a very common gift. Rick, could you come up and tell us about this? Thank you.
Thank you, BJ, for the gift of giving and what appears to be something that gets used in constructing a deck or a home or something of that nature. I personally am not in the process of building a deck or a home, but anyone that takes the time to be so thoughtful to give me a gift with so many useful purposes. So not only could it be used for a deck or for a home, but I'm assuming that you could put it on a desk and use it for your mail. Put your mail in here, right? Or maybe you could turn it sideways and use it to a book, maybe. Maybe if I turned it around some way, I could set my book up against it and actually read from my book. I'm sure that there's a number of ways that we could find to use this very useful piece of equipment that came from Home Depot or Lowe's or some other place like that. But in this season of giving, I find that it's the act of giving that I celebrate, not actually the gift itself. Thank you, BJ, for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Greg. And as I mentioned, this is the first time I've done table topics. So I have seen people offer up questions where people have to provide their opinion, and they have to think about world topics, and they have to dig deep into their memories or their childhood. In this case, we're using our imagination, because this gift is obviously not something that my family gives on a routine basis. But for the next table topic question, I would like for our next speaker to speak about how well these will sell this year at Walgreens. Because they do sell at Lowe's and Home Depot, but this year Walgreens is offering this. So Melanie, could you come up and tell us how this is going to be such a bestseller, or how this is going to be marketed this year for the holiday season? And I'm sure it's going to be a big hit. Thank you.
Wow. This item, though useful at Lowe's and Home Depot, I think the Walgreens exec was drunk when he decided to do this. Because sometimes when things get put on lists of the hot items for the holidays, you sometimes look at it and go, what was the executive actually thinking? Well, our exec was actually very drunk when he decided to put this, because he thought Home Depot and Lowe's, they make lots more money than me. How can I promote it? And he's there and he's thinking, well, okay, he's sort of thinking and his head is hurting. And he said, how can I expand? Well, his supplier catalog came in, he starts flipping, and he finds this item. And he's like, Eureka! I know what I can sell to make my store expand. Joist supports. So this poor, hungover executive made the unwise decision before the holidays to have bracket supports put in his store. But the sad part is, our poor executive who got drunk and decided this was looking for a new job come New Year's. This is Tabletopics manager. I'll leave the thing.
Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate everyone. Sorry. I appreciate everyone for the unusual table topic for today. And I was trying to incorporate this into giving for the holiday season. And thank you for telling me it's some type of bracket support. I found this in my home while I was moving. I had no idea what it was. I thought surely it's some home improvement item, but I didn't know what it was. And I thought this would make a good table topic. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, BJ. Yeah, I haven't seen an angular floor joist support like that. So that's one that I haven't had a reason to look for. But now I know they do exist if I ever find I need one.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
I would say pride in the word
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease
Freedom
like
requires
breast
leadership,
cancer, there are
and
no
leadership requires
parties.
oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Now we're going to get into the prepared speeches, and this is the portion of the meeting where the speaker is working either on an individual project within one of the Toastmaster manuals, or they're going to present a speech that we have for improving our speaking skills or the club. We do have some other speaking opportunities within Toastmasters to present information to the club that in some way will help us in developing our communication and leadership skills. We're actually going to hear one prepared manual speech today, and we're also going to hear one speech from the Better Speakers series. Our first speaker this morning is going to be giving us a presentation from the Basic Competent Communications Manual. It is project number 2, Organize Your Speech. Our speaker is going to be talking to us about how to prepare for developing goals and objectives. If you'd help me welcome Melanie Jones-Gant, Growing Your Garden. Growing Your Garden, Melanie Jones-Gant. Melanie?
We all start life with goals and objectives, though we may not have them written down. We all want to harvest the things out of our lives that we want to reach. But it's really hard to harvest something without preparing and putting in effort each day to grow those goals and objectives. It is about not just deciding to throw seeds in a field and hope to God they spring up. You have to understand what your climate is, where you are. Trying to grow a pineapple in Maine, though you can do it, is probably not the best objective. But growing a pineapple in Hawaii is pretty easy. Though you can grow a pineapple in Maine, just so you know, if you put it in a hothouse. So you have to understand the climate around you, the type of soil you have, and the lay of the land to be able to successfully grow a garden. And what you're growing is your garden of yourself. As you grow your garden, the first step is, what is the climate that you're trying to grow yourself in? Who are you? What are you? So the first objective before you actually start your objective is defining who you are, how you see yourself. It literally is taking a piece of paper, writing down I am at the top or on a computer screen like I did, and write out who you see yourself as. I'm a mom, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a public administrator, I'm a financial planner, I'm a financial administrator. Your list can be 3 words, your list can be 500 words. But by sitting down and defining how you see yourself, you know where you're starting. You understand what the climate is or where you are to be able to go towards your dreams and objectives. Second thing is you have to understand the soil that you're planting the seeds of yourself in. You have to understand what your skills are. Just like when you put seeds in a soil, you have to know how to prepare the soil. You have to understand what your skills and your strengths are. Where are you starting? Are you competent at writing? Are you competent in speaking? Have you given speeches? Do you have an education? Do you have a certification? Write down my skills are and define for yourself where you're standing currently. What is in the soil that can help grow your dreams? You know, is it high nitrate, or high potassium? You know, those are elements in the soil themselves that help you grow. You may not use all your skills to go towards your dreams, but you never know what parts of those skills will help grow your dreams. Being a very talkative person, for example, I wanted to be a speaker. Well, I wouldn't think being a financial manager and helping advise people on finances would make me a better speaker, but what it did was it helped me understand people and how they interact with their money. And by understanding those skill sets and the way they bridged, I was able to start understanding how to communicate with different types of people in very stressful environments, which can be what public speaking can be about too. The third thing is, do you understand the lay of the land? Do you understand where you're at, what your obligations are every day? You know, I'm a mom, I have a 4-year-old. So the limitations on my time. Do you have a spouse? Do you have a responsibility to them? Do you have a demanding job that requires 60-hour work weeks? What are your limitations on your time and your energy? By writing them down and defining them, you're actually giving yourselves borders on what you can accomplish. And sometimes you're also understanding the things that you can weed out. Because when you start with a barren field, there's lots of stuff in there. If you've ever looked at a field, it's made up of a lot of different plants and bugs and insects and bacteria. The problem is if you don't know what's in that field and all you do is plow it under, it's like a bad zucchini. If you plow it under and it's something that comes back on its own, it's going to pop back up because you haven't taken care of the problems. You haven't taken care of and understood what is the lay of the land you're working with. If you plant your garden in the middle of a river, it's really not going to be there next time you come around. So understand when you're trying to start growing yourself and growing your strengths and your disciplines and your dreams. Start with where you're at. Understand the climate. Understand who you see yourself as. Understand what your skills are. Because as you learn how the soil is, you're going to start to understand how you can take your skills that you currently have and adapt them to help you realize your own dreams. And third, understand the lay of the land. Because if you understand your obligations in your life or the demands on your time, you're going to be able to find the time you need to start growing your dreams and your objectives. Because at the end of the day, your garden is only as beautiful as you put energy into and you put effort into. But if you put the garden in the middle of the river, or you try to grow a pineapple in Maine, you're going to have a lot harder time than if you actually understand where you are and you can understand better how to get where you want to go. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Melanie. Actually, I got some other things out of Melanie's speech because I'm thinking of revamping my resume. I haven't really updated it in the last 5-6 years, and I can see some things that I can take from that to use as well. But I've never thought about planting a garden in the middle of a river. At this point, we're going to take a moment of silence for Melanie's evaluator to prepare their evaluation, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Welcome back. Now we're going to hear from our second speaker that we have with us this morning. She's going to be giving us a presentation from the Successful Club series. The Successful Club series is a group of speeches that are available to Toastmasters, and they are focused on improving specific aspects of our speaking skills. Our speaker is going to be talking to us about the evaluation process, which I hope you'll find really interesting because you're going to have an opportunity to actually hear evaluations done on our two speakers this morning during the evaluation portion of our meeting. Our speaker for this morning that's going to be presenting Evaluate to Motivate is Emily Garrett, Advanced Communicator Bronze and Competent Leader. Help me welcome Emily Garrett, Evaluate to Motivate. Emily?
Evaluate to motivate. It seems very clear to me. We want to always help our members improve, and we want them to keep getting back up here. Much of our feedback from our speeches comes from a presentation given by the designated evaluator, handwritten notes from other members, the timers report, and the grammarian report. I've heard and received many evaluations, and I've received comments that were encouraging, practical, insightful, and sometimes surprising. It's amazing how valuable another person's perspective can be. After I hear the evaluation of one of my speeches and I read any notes that I've received, I always try to concentrate on a couple of points that I want to focus on to improve my next speech. It's so important to be open to the feedback, and it's equally important to evaluate in a supportive manner because we want all of our members to improve. We strive to accentuate the positive while still giving practical advice, as we want all the members to gain from their experience in the club. We want our members to evaluate in a manner that the speaker can receive beneficial information and advice, to encourage them to continue presenting, to be given guidelines for positive feedback, and to make continuous improvements. As audience members, we learn from the good example that an effective evaluation presents. As evaluators, we learn to sharpen our listening skills and our impromptu speaking skills. And as a speaker, an effective evaluation benefits us by providing immediate feedback, supportive commentary, and helpful direction can help us focus on areas that need work. Offering suggestions for improvement, the evaluator can provide a new perspective, and that perspective can help us to identify and resolve any difficulties within the presentation. Building and maintaining self-esteem. As the speaker improves from speech to speech, self-esteem is gained. Let's talk about the time limit. An evaluation is allotted 2 to 3 minutes. While that doesn't sound like very long, it offers us enough time to provide the sandwich evaluation, something positive, something instructive, and something positive. Now you may be able to think of 20 minutes worth of things to say about a 6-minute speech when you're evaluating. However, if you went on too long as you giving all the constructive advice, you would certainly lose the attention of the receiver, and anything valuable that you may have said would soon be forgotten. So that's why it's limited. So it's important to keep it objective and keep it concise and always end with something positive. The club approach is to evaluate with doing all the talking while the speaker does all the listening. This makes the meetings efficient and prevents conversational digression. The evaluation ends at the podium. And by making it concise, the speaker can focus on what you're saying and remember it. New members should not evaluate until they've conducted several speeches. Now, before the speech, if you're the evaluator, discuss the objectives of the speech and the evaluation guidelines with the speaker. Ask about any concerns regarding the speaker or the speech or the speaker's abilities. Demonstrate that you're truly interested in the speech. Exhibit your interest in the speaker's ability to grow and improve. Always put yourself in the position of the speaker before you give the evaluation. Personalize your language with words to stimulate improvement. Say things like, I believe, my reaction was, I suggest that. Keep the evaluator's mantra in mind and say what I saw, what I heard, and what I felt. Evaluate the speech, not the person. Your main purpose is to be supportive and pay attention to the speaker's goals to improve and to grow. It's not your speech, and you don't have to agree with all the points that the speaker made. You're in a supportive role, and you're to pay attention to the speaker's goals for self-improvement. You're simply evaluating whether they did a good job constructing the speech and presenting it according to the evaluation guidelines. Encourage and inspire the speaker with honest praise. Provide positive reinforcement whenever possible and helpful direction wherever needed, and always end positively. And I keep repeating that about ending positively. I realize that, but I'm trying to stress the importance of that. It's important to pay attention to evaluations that are given for other speakers as well. There's so much to be learned about what impressed the evaluator of someone else's speech, or what practical advice was given to them. Tips you can use for yourself. I don't think it would have been useful for me to be in a club where I could come up here and speak and always be told that I did a great job, because frankly, I wouldn't believe you. I know that I need to improve, and it's so helpful for me to get someone else's perspective and to point out areas where I need to focus. I don't know where else I could get that if there weren't clubs like this where you could come and get that kind of advice. I appreciate all the feedback that I've gotten from the Toastmasters clubs. It's important to be supportive in every way to encourage each member to grow and to keep getting back up here. The more effective we are in evaluating each other, the more each of us will benefit from our experience with the club. Whether you're delivering a speech, evaluating, or sitting in the audience. We should always strive to do our best to continually improve our evaluation skills. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Emily reminded us that Toastmasters is a safe environment for us to try a variety of things. The person that's presenting a speech can also identify specific things that they would like their evaluator to provide them some feedback on, in addition to the feedback outline that they will have in a manual. We're going to take a minute for Emily's evaluator to complete their evaluation, and then we'll be back to hear the evaluations. We'll be back in a moment.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Farmer says, doctor says, chicken says...
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken...
Welcome back. Now we're going to proceed with the evaluation portion of our meeting. To handle that part of our meeting today is our general evaluator. Our general evaluator is a more seasoned Toastmaster. She has 3 DTMs, but one of the things we always need to remember is that no matter what you've achieved, you can always do better. There are always things that we can work on. Everyone has strengths, and then they usually have some things, especially if they're honest, they have some things that they could do better, that they struggle with, that presents a challenge for them. Help me welcome Carol Kormelink, DTM, our general evaluator for today's meeting, and she's going to be leading us through the evaluation portion where we will be hearing feedback on some of the speeches you heard this morning. Carol?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As General Evaluator, as Steve said, it's my job to evaluate the meeting and to introduce the evaluators and evaluate the evaluators. And as Steve said, everyone has a weakness or something they can work on, and mine is evaluation. So I practice evaluation whenever I can, and I'm learning 1 or 2 things here and there. Still have a lot to learn. Our first evaluator today will be Michelle Lewis, who will be evaluating Melanie's speech. Let us welcome Michelle Lewis, competent communicator and competent leader.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Melanie, this is the second time evaluating you, and your second speech today was organizer's speech, and the objectives that Melanie had for today were to select an appropriate outline that allows the listeners to easily follow, make her message clear with supporting material, use appropriate transitions, and create a strong opening and conclusion. What an interesting speech. I love the fact that you use the analogy of setting objective to reach your goals to growing a garden. It's a very meaningful speech for all of us, because I think we can all relate. Maybe we have not all grown a garden, but we've all have wanted to grow a garden or tried to grow a garden. So very interesting topic. I really liked your clear points. So focus on the climate, the soil, and the lay of the land. And with each part of your body, you gave us actions. So write it down or type it on a computer, define it. You gave us things that we can specifically do. So I thought that was really strong. Gave us examples of your personal examples, your mother, your wife. These are what you did so that we can take away from that. I really liked your phrase and words relating to gardening. Harvest, weed them out, plow it under. So you really did a good job of the parallelism, I can't even say that word, sorry, of growing a garden to setting your objectives. As far as areas of improvement, I felt like the opening was slightly weak. And I know you had mentioned you had lost your opening on the computer, but I feel like you could have started out with maybe a question or a quote about gardening something to really draw us in. You did slightly lose your way, but you recovered nicely. You did a really good job. I could sit there and I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen? And you just, once you started going, it didn't even seem like you got flustered whatsoever. So fantastic recovery. You barely used notes, so good job on that. Like her note page was this long and I don't even notice they're using it. So overall, you did a really good job. You used good inflection. You used good body language, not over the top, not too much, but you really kept us all engaged, and a really strong closing. So fantastic job, and I look forward to the next speech.
Thank you, Melanie. Our next evaluator, evaluating Emily, will be Rick Barron. And Rick, if you would please come forward, and he is an Advanced Communicator Bronze. He's the 2nd level, and Advanced Leader Silver, the 3rd level of leadership. Let's welcome Rick Barron.
Thank you, Carol. Emily, thank you for giving us that guidance on how we should be doing our evaluations. These are difficult speeches to give. One, because they're much longer than normal speeches, and that's very intimidating to most people, to have to give those much longer speeches. Number 2, they're topics that we don't, in most cases, have a lot of personal experience with. There's material that we read and essentially that we have to regurgitate. What I liked about what you did is you started off right away telling us why you were here. Evaluate to motivate is about helping us improve people and getting them to return to the lectern. Staying focused on the fact that it's about the person that we're giving the evaluation for. It's not about me and my speech or what I have to say. It's about making sure that they get back up here and do it again. And you reinforce that multiple times as you went through your presentation, keeping it right on track. You only glanced at your notes briefly, which is very good for a speech that's that long. So you had your notes and only glanced down occasionally to see where you were to kind of keep things moving. Your style was very conversational. It was almost like you were talking to a friend in terms of, let me share with you some insights and ideas about how you can improve the way that you give feedback to other people. And the presentation didn't have to focus, or the material didn't have to focus on just Toastmasters. It could be used in performance evaluations. It can be used in conversations with spouses. That's broad applicability of the content that you shared. 2 things that you might think of for the future. It's hard to know what to do with these, and you have a tendency to do this. So I could tell whenever you were nervous, or maybe there was like, what do I do next? Because your hands would come together and you would hold them in front of you like this. And so I know that about you, right? Other people may not. And so this, I think, is the thing that we have to figure out what to do with the most. What do I do with my hands? And this is as good as any, but I could tell when you were a little bit nervous because of your hands in front of you. The second thing was there was a point in here where you could use visual aids, and I know you said that you didn't want to use the PowerPoints, but I was trying to come up with some ideas on what visual aid might be helpful. And because the sandwich method is so important in Toastmasters, maybe a visual aid of the sandwich method, where it shows, not bread or something like that, but it shows, 2 things positive with 1 thing in the middle kind of improvement may have been a good way to show the sandwich method. Overall, I like the honesty that you had, sharing your personal experience about how evaluations have really helped you, and I think that came across in the message that you gave everybody else. Thank you for giving us this gift of evaluation.
Thank you, Rick, for that great evaluation. Our next report will be from our all-counter grammarian, Patty Raggets, and let's hear what Patty has to tell us today. Patty Raggets.
Okay, the word of the day was giving. BJ used it 5 times, but it went with their speech, so, but She still gets kudos. Emily had one and Rick had 3 givings, and Melanie had 1 aw.
Thank you very much for listening. And our next report is our timer. I didn't know if he was finishing up there. Rick Barron, if you will come back up and give us our timing report.
Thank you, Carol. When you've come to enough Toastmasters meetings, you find that the challenge is getting us off the stage, not getting us on the stage. That's what the timer's for, to be able to show that little red light that says, okay, it's time. Time for you to sit down and wrap it up. Steve, your introduction as president and Toastmaster was 1 minute and 15 seconds. Patty, your introduction of the word of the day was 16 seconds, short and sweet. My table topic was 1 minute and 19, between the 1 and 2 minutes that was required for that. And Melanie, yours was 1 minute 29, right at the midpoint there. Melanie's speech was supposed to be 5 to 7 minutes, and it was 6 minutes and 34 seconds, so it was right on target. Emily's speech was supposed to be 10 to 12, and Emily, you came in 5 seconds shy at 8:55, so you needed to say thank you a little longer, maybe. For the evaluations, they're supposed to be between 2 and 3 minutes. Michelle, yours was 2:35. And we get 30 seconds leeway. My evaluation was 3:24, so I just squeaked that one out with an extra 6 seconds. Patty, your grammarian report was 21 seconds. Pretty short and sweet. Carol, back to you.
Thank you, Rick, for that very thorough report. It's now my time to give an evaluation of the meeting, and I had a hard time trying to listen at the last year. I didn't have enough time to write things down, so I will start out that the meeting started on time. We have everything in order, and all the cameras were set up. I liked our theme is a Christmas theme, since this won't be seen until next month, and the word of the day was giving, and giving with no thought of getting anything back. And people say, well, don't you remember when you gave that to me, Carol? I'm going, no, I don't, because in the Bible it says, forget a good deed as soon as you've done it. And so I don't remember. You have to remind me that, yes, I did something, because I wasn't doing it with a thought of return, because then it's not really a gift. Rick and Melanie, I liked BJ for your first time up here as Tabletopics Master. I have to give you a round of applause, because you're one of the few people who knows how to do the Tabletopics correctly, where you ask the question first and then ask the person, so that we all have to experience thinking quickly to come up with an answer. If you say the person first, then you can the other people tune out. They don't have to have their brain working. What would they say if they came up here? So thank you very much for that, BJ. It was a different way of doing table topics, and I really appreciate that. And you picked the perfect responders. They came up with very good replies to that. Melanie, the evaluator was Michelle for Melanie, and Melanie, you have one of the best evaluators here. She always is uplifting. I haven't heard her give a discouraging evaluation, but one of the things in the evaluation contest, you will get disqualified if you run 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So pay attention to the time. Oh, wait a minute, 2 to 3 minutes. So you will get, yeah, that's 3:35. I got thrown, oh, see a minute. I'm going, oh, she's going to be in an evaluation contest. She's going to have to watch that. So that was good. You did pay attention to your time. And what did I write here? I liked that you're excellent and motivating. One of the things that you might have mentioned, it hit me, was how often she used understand. You didn't mention that you listened really well to the 3 parts of her speech. I learned more about her speech listening to your evaluation of it, because some of the things that I had missed, I didn't listen as well as you did. And she already knew she had a weak opening, but you gave her an example of a way that she could have made it stronger, which is one of the good things that you did in your sandwich, and how you gave her praise for her good recovery from her brain freeze. And she just went right on as though it hadn't happened, which is very good. You're already seasoned in that. Rick, your evaluation of Emily, I liked the enthusiasm you showed in your voice, you showed in the sparkle in your eyes, and you not only listened to her with your ears, you listened to her with her eyes and gave her a tip on how she could make it better by having a visual aid of some way that she could illustrate the sandwich method. One of the things that would have helped me better, I need to really hear things, and I would have gotten the message faster if you had given me an example of how not to do it. Oh, that was terrible the way you did that. You kept wobbling back and forth, or you were jingling the change in your pocket, when that's the way not to do it. And a better way would say, in the future, if you will hook your thumbs in your pocket instead of putting your hands in your pocket, that might save the coins from jingling, or something I would have understood if you had an example with each of those. You might have pointed that out, but you point out a lot of good things, and I like that. And I didn't have time to write, Patty, that you did. I liked your word of the day, giving. That was a good word that you came up with on the spur of the moment. Sorry I hadn't coached you better. And who was the other thing? Rick, and you were very thorough in your evaluation. And I will now return. I enjoyed the meeting. If you enjoyed the meeting, let's hear it. Let's hear it. I will return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster, Steve Ahrenholz, distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. I have a question for you. What did you notice about the evaluation portion of our meeting? Everyone had to listen in order to provide feedback. We saw it with our general evaluator when she gave feedback to all of the evaluators. And each of the individual evaluators spoke to you about what they saw. They gave you some specifics as to what the speaker was doing, and then they also provided some additional areas where they could try something different to address the area that the speaker was, or the evaluator was pointing out to them. I think sometimes we tend to forget that communication also requires us to listen, and that means you can't be preparing your own rebuttal while they're still talking, because you'll miss something. Well, I feel we've had a very good meeting today, and I want to give a round of applause to all of our participants who came up here today. For those of you who missed our recent open house at TQL this past Thursday, the 13th of November, it was an excellent event. What I'm hearing from everyone is that the speaker, world champion Otis Williams, gave an outstanding presentation, which was our expectation, and that we had very good attendance. I'm hoping that we will have some of the folks that attended come and visit us here in the studio of TV Toastmasters at 7855 Mile Road. Our next meetings are going to be on Thursday, December 4th, starting at 6 p.m. And our next Saturday meeting will be on Saturday, December 20th. These are two meetings that you might want to try to attend if you've ever thought about coming to TV Toastmasters. We will have all of the things that you've seen today in that meeting. I'd like to encourage you to come and check us out in person. You don't have to participate, you can just watch. But we'd certainly like you to come and have you give us a look. This program will be broadcast during December, so this is our holiday meeting. And my hat here, I keep looking at, it's like I'm peering out from underneath it. I talked to you about the red shoes. Well, here they are. With that, do what? Do both at once? I'm not that good. We have a guest in our studio today, and we appreciate your coming to visit us. We hope that we will see you again at one of our meetings. And if you're inclined to join, we'd love that too. Carol had pointed out, and I think it came up maybe not directly in the course of our meeting, but the purpose of a Toastmasters meeting is to provide a supportive and positive learning environment in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills that result in greater self-confidence and personal growth. You may wonder, well, what would I do if that happened to me? Or, oh, I couldn't deal with that kind of a mishap as a presentation goes on. Well, it's not that you're not fazed by them when they happen, but by having opportunities to get up and do various speaking roles, different leadership roles, you start to realize that I can deal with it. I can deal with it. It may not be exactly what I wanted. It may not be that I wouldn't do it differently next time, but you know that I won't fall apart. I won't be just totally tongue-tied, and that has a lot of value in itself. With that, all of us at TV Toastmasters wish all of you a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season, and we will look forward to seeing you again in 2015. I'm going to adjourn the Saturday, November 15th meeting of TV Toastmasters Club 9523.